I'm Stuart McIntosh with the BBC News. Hello. South Africa, where the Omicron variant was first identified last month, says all indicators suggest it's past the peak of the fourth wave of COVID infections on a national level. The government is easing some restrictions, although wearing masks in public places is still compulsory and indoor gatherings must not exceed 1,000 people. Our correspondent Seema Kotecha has the details of restrictions that are being lifted.
The government said the latest figures showed a 30% decrease in new COVID cases over the past week, as well as a fall in hospital admissions in all provinces except one. It said given the trajectory of the pandemic, along with the rate of vaccinations and available beds in hospitals, it had decided to lift a nationwide midnight to 4 a.m. curfew and allow shops with the correct licences to sell alcohol after 11 p.m.
The Director General of Israel's Health Ministry, Nachman Ash, says officials have approved a fourth coronavirus vaccination, a second booster shot.
I have approved a fourth dose of vaccine for patients with diseases or impairments of the immune system. I approved this after research showed the benefit of a fourth vaccine dose to these people, given that they are more vulnerable to the Omicron outbreak than others.
On Thursday, Israel's health authorities reported the country's highest number of cases since September. The health minister said the country was in the middle of a fifth wave. The presidents of Russia and the United States have completed a scheduled phone conversation that was expected to have been dominated by tension over Ukraine. Relations between the two countries are at a low after Russia concentrated thousands of troops on the border with its neighbour. Evelyn Farkas was President Obama's Deputy Assistant Secretary for Defence for Russia, Ukraine and Eurasia between 2012 and 2015. She told the BBC she's concerned because of the Russian president's potential motives for requesting the call.
It's unclear whether he's trying to de-escalate or escalate. And in my experience with Vladimir Putin, I was in the Pentagon in 2014 when he first made his seizure into Ukrainian territory with Crimea and then in the Donbass. It tells me that he's not likely to be trying to de-escalate. So he's going to have additional demands, or he's taking the measure of President Biden, or both.
Health workers in Sudan say at least 4 people have been killed by the security forces during protests against October's coup. A pro-opposition doctors group said they were shot dead in Khartoum's twin city of Omdurman. The demonstrators defied a lockdown to march on the presidential palace, calling on the military to stay out of politics. World News from the BBC. The surge in the number of COVID cases caused by the Omicron variant is causing disruption across Europe. A British railway operator has had to suspend all of its services from one of London's busiest stations because of staff shortages. Infections have also risen dramatically in Italy, and Germany has restricted travel there. Catherine Smallwood from the World Health Organization says it's vital to try to stop the spread of the virus so that health systems are not overwhelmed.
We have to recognise that already in countries like the UK, which are seeing the more mature outbreak of Omicron, that staff absences in hospitals are increasing very significantly. The best way to prevent that is to make sure that all healthcare staff, all people who are looking after anyone who's vulnerable, are prevented from being infected in the first place.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says government airstrikes in Ethiopia's Tigray region killed dozens of civilians last week. It said the attacks were the most intense since October. The agency said it had been unable to verify the number of deaths owing to insecurity and limited access to the area. The military-dominated government in Mali says it might take 5 years to return to democratic rule. The announcement was made at the end of a 4-day conference, which recommended that elections, due in February, should be postponed by at least 6 months. The military seized power in a coup last year and initially promised a return to civilian rule in 2022. Wildfires in the American state of Colorado have prompted the evacuation of 2 towns just east of mountains near Denver. The fires were driven by winds with gusts of around 170 kilometres an hour. The National Weather Service described a life-threatening situation and ordered the 13,000 inhabitants of Superior and more than 18,000 in Louisville to leave. BBC News.